Did you see the greatest racing moment of 2022? Did
Bro,
you see it 19
that
times?
I watched it 50 times. It was sick.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This episode is brought to you in part by Policy Genius. Look, insurance is important. It's the kind of thing nobody wants to think about until it is too freaking late. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're talking about home, auto insurance, or life insurance, you really don't want to not have life insurance when you need it. If you've got someone who depends on you, a spouse, children, etc., you hope you never need it, but mortgage payments, childcare, and other expenses don't disappear once you're gone. And life insurance through your job, it may not offer enough protection for your family's needs, and it won't follow you if you leave that job. And since life insurance typically gets more expensive as we age, now is the time to buy. You will never be any younger than you are today. And Policy Genius, it gives you a smarter way to find and buy the right coverage for you and your family. Policy Genius is easy, it's fast, it's not fancy, it's not difficult, but they work for you. They handle it, right? So Policy Genius was built to modernize the life insurance industry. Their technology makes it easy to compare life insurance quotes from top companies like AIG and Prudential in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $17 per month for $500,000 in coverage. And Policy Genius has licensed agents who can help you find options that offer coverage in as little as a week and avoid unnecessary medical exams. They're not incentivized to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust their guidance. There's no added fees. Your personal information is private. It's no wonder they have thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot. Your loved ones deserve a financial safety net, and you deserve a smarter way to find and buy it. So head over to policygenius.com or click the link in the video description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. Policygenius.com. Check it out. Also brought to you today by ButcherBox and Right on Time. One of our meatiest meat holidays is coming up, Thanksgiving, and guess what? ButcherBox can handle you right there. This is an unbelievable deal, and finding it right now with our show is a clutch player. You ever try to search for free-range turkey at your regular grocery stores without antibiotics or hormones? It's tough. You got to go to one of those fancy schmancy grocery stores, pay an arm and a leg. Not anymore. ButcherBox takes the guesswork out of finding high-quality meat and seafood that you can trust. It's 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, crate-free pork, wild-caught seafood, and now free-range turkey, baby. It is on point. It's super convenient. You get the meat you want delivered right to your door. Free shipping for the continental U.S. No surprise fees. You can choose from a variety of box plan options from curated to customized and change your plan whenever you want. Enjoy a range of high-quality cuts that are hard to come by at the grocery store at an amazing value, and you get recipe inspiration, guides, tips, and hacks so you can cook up mouth-watering meals. I used my last ButcherBox crate to make a variety of things. I got filet mignons, did them in the cast iron, some butter, rosemary, and then boom, into the oven at 500 for a couple of minutes. It was delightful. Also, the ground beef, I'm on that free ground beef for life plan that we got about a year ago. So every time I order a box, I get free ground beef. And I use it to make like Korean bowls. It's delicious. Over rice, some carrots, some water chestnuts, some green onions, some a fried egg on top. Boom. It rules. And now Thanksgiving's coming up, so it's time for turkey. The main course for Thanksgiving. It can sometimes be a main source of stress. Not anymore. ButcherBox is offering listeners, get this, a free turkey with their first order. Sign up today at butcherbox.com/tire. Use code TIRE to get one 10 to 14 pound turkey free in your first box. a free turkey. It's like Nino Brown over here. That's butcherbox.com/tire and use code TIRE to claim this deal. We're also brought to you today by Off the Record. We love Off the Record because it helps get you out of the ecosystem that you don't want to be a part of anyway. The ticket system. We all know that tickets on the highway are very, very rarely about safety. They're often about extracting money from you. Between the police, the courts, the insurance companies, getting a simple ticket can cost you thousands of dollars over the time. Between the ticket, the fees, and the insurance premiums, thousands of dollars. It's crazy. And is the road actually safer? Have they made it safer? No, we know they haven't. They've just taken your money. That's what they've done. Exit that system with Off the Record. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or download that Off the Record app. Use code TST10 on the Off the Record app. 10% off all legal fees until 2025, people. And that's with Off the Record. Don't plead guilty. You get a ticket, it's very, very easy. Literally all you have to do, if you have the app, upload a photo of the ticket, go to the website, upload a scan of the ticket or a photo of the ticket. Off the Record handles the rest. I've used Off the Record 4 or 5 times since we've started reading ads for them. And literally, here's what happens. This is my experience. Your experience might vary slightly, but this has been my experience. I upload the ticket, I get a confirmation email that they've received the ticket, and that's it. I never hear anything again. They handle it for me. I don't have to go to court. I don't have to follow up. My insurance doesn't go up. It's great. And if Off the Record can't get the points off your record, money back. Guarantee, because that is what they do, and they do it very well. Offtherecord.com/TST or code TST10 on that Off the Record app. All right, folks, today it's a crew show. Zach and I are in studio. We are talking about some updates on our BMW project car giveaway. I did 900 miles to Scottsdale, Arizona and back in my Ferrari 328. There was some drama when it came to the Honda Civic Type R launch and more. It's a crew show on the Smoking Tire Podcast.
Well, this sucks balls.
So why are you sitting in front of your swimming pool, Matt Farah?
Not that I don't like sitting out here in front of my fucking sweet pool. I do. But apparently I have COVID again.
You sound a little congested. You do.
I'm like a little congested. Like a little. Like I don't really like. I went to Arizona this weekend. I had a nice time, drove my Ferrari there and back, 900 miles. Car was great. Had fun with Marco and with Donnie and with all the folks and Sarah and I thought I just had like at the end of yesterday, and then yesterday I had like one of those super stressful Mondays where things have piled up for a week and I have to dig myself out of the shit. And you were there.
Yeah, yeah, I was there.
You were there, and I hope you don't have fucking COVID. We'll find out tomorrow, I guess.
So far, negative, but we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Yeah, Hannah, my wife, so far negative, even though. But last night when I got home, like not until I got home, but like once I got home, I was like, damn, my throat's just like a little scratchy, just like a little. And I was like, well, I drove, 6 hours to Arizona and back with the windows down in the car, talking to Marco. I'm already fucking pretty loud, but louder than I normally talk, because it's fucking air, it's desert air going by at 90 miles an hour.
Right.
And you have to have loud, and I was talking to so many people, talking so much in Arizona at Otto and a normal person like that's not fucking paranoid and anxious like me would be like, oh yeah, like I have a hoarse voice because I did so much talking. And that's like a normal thing in like the before times, but today I woke up and the scratchiness really wasn't gone. It wasn't worse, but it was still there. And I was supposed to go to the dentist today. And I was like, look, paranoid or not, I have to sit in front of somebody with my mouth open for an hour. I should probably just check this. And I took a test, and the T line was like real faint. Like it was so faint where you're like, that could probably go either way. But I only had one at the office. And so I came home and took another test. Still faint, but like nothing. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and then
you ever get one of the faint ones?
Mine have always been pretty definitive, but
yeah,
I think what you did is, you confirmed you got the same result twice. That's the big thing. It could be
the
faint,
same result
but
twice.
same result twice.
Yeah. So now this is me now isolating. My wife is inside working, and I mean, at least it's a nice day. I can sit out here for the rest of the day, and do this, and at least the technology exists. But damn, does that suck? I don't really feel sick. It's one thing if you feel sick and you want to kind of stay home anyway, but like, oof, at least I don't have any more travel to do. If I've got to sit at home for 4 or 5 days, it's actually a pretty good time to do it. But just frustrating. I got that Omicron booster like 2.5 weeks ago too.
Yeah, well, you might beat it quickly because Stanford, reading this thing, says a faint line indicates a lower level of viral antigens. So it is possible that you got boosted and that knocked it down where you may have, but who knows? I mean, this is all speculation. I
also have a telehealth thing just after we finish this show, and I'm going to try and get some more packs, get some of that fucking packs going, really beat the shit out of this thing, again.
You'll be better by tomorrow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
if I had like Rogan's poll and could do some monoclonal antibodies, I could probably fucking get her done.
I think you can do that with money. So I don't know. I think
it's expensive.
Right.
Yeah, it's expensive, but PAX is free. So fortunately, and because I'm fat, I qualify.
Really?
It's not literally because I'm fat, but it's because I have high blood pressure that I qualify to get it.
Oh, because you have another problem. What's it called?
I have a comorbidity.
A comorbidity.
Like I could be fucked up, but
right.
Super annoying, super frustrating. Obviously we can do this and I can work off of emails and our show with Paris Marks on Thursday is virtual anyway, so not a huge deal.
It's a fortunate week to get it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty lucky week in terms of how weeks can go.
Yeah. But aside from getting COVID, 900 miles in the 328 went very well. The car was perfectly happy. There are not, obviously the car is small, and in order for me to drive it comfortably, people should go check out our Canyon video, which is up right now, of you and I driving in our Pelote driving shoes.
That's right.
And as much as, and actually the Pelote driving shoes were better for driving this car than my sneakers. On the dashboard of the car, below the radio are 2 air vents. The 308 didn't have those. The 328 got those vents. And that vent for where I have to have my knee or my right leg, and it's worse when I'm wearing shoes, any kind of shoes, that vent like bashes into my shin. And so the only real way to do a super long trip comfortably is to do it barefoot. The Pelote shoes were better than New Balances by a lot. And it's not the width of the shoe, it's the actual thickness of the sole. That moving my foot like 1 inch off the pedal, that's the thickness of the sole, smushes my shin into the center console. So the most comfortable way to do it is barefoot. And also when I can put my left foot, I could tuck it behind the clutch pedal. so I can straighten out my left leg, which is actually nice. But
yeah, an inch matters. I mean, there are cars that, the new version will come out and they'll be like, we've expanded headroom by 1 inch for this with this new generation. But it all adds up. And I mean, the car is pretty small. Even when you were sitting on the passenger side, it's a little bigger than an NA Miata. That's what it feels like. Yeah.
It is a small car. In the video that we did, it doesn't look like I could fit in it with the top on, but I can. It's definitely better with it off, but I can fit in it with the top on.
Look how narrow. We're looking at your Instagram, and we're right behind the car on probably I-10, and there is so much room on either side in this lane. It's it's a little car, even with like the flares and everything. It's a very small car.
Well, that's something that's nice about it in the canyons is that you can create a racing line, within your lane. You drive a 992 Porsche or a lot of modern cars, and they've gotten so wide and so big that you only have one option, in order to not run over the painted lines on either side. And in this car, you can move in between the lines quite a bit and create sort of a racing line. But it's beautiful at 90 miles an hour. I mean, 88 to 90 is where this car just really settles in. It's where it wants to be. It's like 4,200 RPM in fifth, which is just over 50% of the available revs. You never have to drop a gear. The power's always right there. I got 20 miles per gallon the entire way there and back. I did one. That's highway, but it's fast highway. Like I did one. We went to the Chiriaco Summit, which is just east of Palm Springs, and from there to Phoenix, it was literally like exit the gas station onto the on ramp, and it was just one hard pull and then coast at 90 for 3 hours, and it was 20.0 miles per gallon, which, I mean, for a 36-year-old exotic car is pretty impressive, honestly.
Yeah. And when you consider like a lot of modern supercars get 17, 18 with direct injection, all the other things. Granted, they make more power, but it's funny that like things change, but they stay the same.
Yeah. And the engine is very smooth. The suspension rides great. The steering feels nice.
The engine is crazy smooth. I mean, I had only ridden in the car once, but when we drove it, it's honestly like fairly quiet in drive-bys and in the car. Like it sounds cool, but it's not loud. But there's no vibration in the chassis from the engine. It does not feel like a V8. Maybe that's because it's transverse mounted and it's very small, but man, it really feels balanced like an inline six.
Yeah. It's super, super slick. And it burned, I don't know, maybe a half a cup of coolant each way. So, after a long drive like that, after 400 miles, once the engine is totally ice cold, you do a little bleed on the coolant system. You don't need any tools or anything. You just have to open the frunk and like turn this butterfly valve, and then take off the coolant reservoir cap, and you'll hear like psst, just like a little air will come out of the front, and then when it starts to drift water, you tighten it back up and you top off the coolant. And so it did like a half but like that's kind of what cars did then. That's not like abnormal.
Yeah. Was it hot in Arizona when you were there?
It was like 82. It wasn't like hot. But the drive home was warm. It was just like the car was fine. And the fans work and everything. It certainly didn't overheat, but it was a little warm in the car. Yeah, we drank a few waters. It definitely would have been more comfortable in the M3, but
yeah, but I mean, it's a different experience, of course.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was great. And I had, I mean, the fact that Donnie was there, I had like confidence, but I didn't need him for anything. The car was car was good. And we went to Bianco's Pizza, which did not disappoint. If you watch the new season of Chef's Table on Netflix, it's season 1, episode 1 of the current season of Chef's Table. It's supposed, and Carl told me about this. As of a few years ago, this was considered the best pizza in the country by people who know. I think other places have come up that are probably as good now, but it absolutely did not disappoint. We literally ordered, there was like 8 of us. We literally ordered everything on the menu. We just did one of everything. And it was fucking awesome. I got to see Alex Roy came out to visit us, who is now out of a job as of today because Argo was shut down by Ford.
Yeah, that's a big, we could get into that in a little bit about just the pullback on autonomous technology.
Yeah. And then we went to Auto Car Club, which is sort of like the West Side collector car storage of Phoenix, of Scottsdale. And they do a really nice job. Eli Kogan, who owns that place, does a great job. It's a beautiful facility. Cars and Coffee was great. Really nice. Really nice. They call it Bagels and Bullshit because you must have an alliterative title for your car show. It is a rule. But they had some quality bagels, some quality bullshit. And I was supposed to do a Q&A with Eli and like a panel chat and a Q&A, and we brought Alex to join us because a lot of people were asking about sort of the future of, you know, driving versus EVs versus autonomy, and Alex was literally standing right there. So like I'm not gonna not bring him up for that kind of chat. But they do a great job over there. If you're in Scottsdale, it's definitely worth stopping by.
Nice.
And yeah, it was cool. Some really nice people. And car made it. You know, I think we really got Ferrari's, you know, workout in. So that's good. I'm glad that car is as usable of a car as it is. But of course, I had to, like, you know, coming home, I had to drop off Marco at his place, which is like up north, sort of by where it's like by the bottom of Angeles Crest is where he lives. So on a Saturday afternoon, I had to like drop him off and then like wind my way back down home. So I ended my 900 miles with like the worst fucking Saturday afternoon slog across, you know, this traffic of LA, but it's cool. The car took it, and I brought some COVID home. Yay.
If you came back from Arizona with you know, machine guns and COVID. He didn't actually.
And by the way, the last time I got COVID, the first time, do you remember what I was doing when that happened? Driving to Arizona with Marco.
You went, yeah, exact same person.
Same person. You went same fucking road trip.
Right. You went to a group gathering in Arizona. Correlation is not causation, but it is funny that you are 2 for 2. You are 2 for 2.
Damn it.
I mean, the last one was Pearl Jam, which is the largest crowd you'd probably been around in 2 years.
And I did not actually get it there. I got it the day before we went from my wife, who brought it home from a work thing.
Oh, okay.
And there was just a delay of game in the symptoms.
Oh,
and
so
I did
you
wear
brought
a mask,
it to Arizona.
So I did bring it to Arizona, and Arizona gave it back to me this time.
Be amazing if they knew it was the exact same variant that had literally just gone around the horn.
Sheriff Joe fucking captured it and put it in a fucking jail and waited for me to come back.
It's
yeah. But fortunately, I can just sit at home now and kill time out by the pool. And you know, we're going to the Civic Type R launch at the end of next week, so I'm glad it didn't fuck that up.
I'm excited for that.
Well, did you see? I am too. It should be fun, but the disaster that has happened with this launch.
Right. So so they've had 2 of this we're going to what will be their second launch event. They had one at the F1 race in Austin.
Right.
A couple of our colleagues were brought out for that. And you know, like Throttle House got a video with Thomas. I don't think James was there, and you know, Chris from the Drive, and it was a huge Honda media event. I mean, they had it was a 5-day event. I learned going to practice, qualifying, going to the race, and then going to Harris Hill to drive the Civic Type R in lead follow on the track.
Right.
So that's the context of what you will now talk about.
None of those things matter. And it's totally fine that they had this event. Like, have an event, like whatever. What is dumb and very frustrating is that the people who went on that event got a separate embargo for their drive impressions of the car from what we got. Now, I drove the car already for road and track, but that doesn't matter. I road and track and me as a representative of road and track are not going to break that embargo, specifically because it wasn't an event. They literally shipped us a car from Japan to do performance car of the year testing. All right. And they told us, not only can you not talk about drive impressions or share lap times or anything, you can't even share pictures of it on social media. You have to, as far as the public knows, you have to pretend like this car was not here until the magazine test, comes out, until November 15th. We were given that date. Forget road and track. I made a video for them, and we did the performance car of the year test, and we don't have to talk about anything there. But most people who were not invited to Austin, or who were invited and couldn't go, are going to the launch, which is in Northern California on November 8th, 9th, and 10th. To invite some people to Austin and allow them to drive the car and share drive impressions on October 27th is crazy. It makes absolutely no sense from the point of the journalists, unless you were invited, or from the perspective of Honda. It makes no sense at all, because as we've discussed a million times on this podcast, the point of embargoes is to even the playing field for people who don't get to drive a car on a certain date because of basic scheduling. Right? I drive the car today. You can't drive the car till next week.
Mm-hmm.
It's fair to everybody. Just because you were doing something else, it's more fair to go, all right, everybody release your content on the same day.
It's also physically impossible to have every journalist that covers a car there on the same day. So this is why there are waves. So for people that, if there's an international launch, they're literally going to bring 6 journalists from China, 3 from the UK, a bunch from Europe and America. I mean, you're going to have 30 to 40 people at the end of it that all need to drive and review the car for various publications that are published around the world. There's no way you could have all of them there on the same day and, in and out, and have enough cars for all of them to drive them. So that's why they stagger these things out. And then that's why there are embargoes until everyone can publish on the same day.
Right. And there's what they call long lead and short lead. Long lead is a print magazine. It takes 2 or 3 months to put a print magazine together. It takes 2 or 3 days to put a YouTube video together. It takes 2 or 3 hours to write a drive impression. So you shouldn't, that's just how the cycle works. And the idea of an embargo, although some people complain about them, it does in fact level the playing field. When it comes specifically to YouTube, if some people, 3 or 4 outlets, are allowed to publish content 2 weeks before other people are even allowed to drive the car, I'm not just talking about me and you. I'm talking about everybody else that has signed up for this launch and was given a written embargo date of November 15th and agreed to it. Honda then decided that certain people got their own embargo. They were basically handed potentially tens of thousands of dollars in advance ad revenue and opportunity by getting to drive this car. And I complained about this on Twitter. Other people did too. Doug, for one. I also wrote an email to Honda PR asking them to explain themselves. I got a call from someone at Honda PR. Their explanation was incredibly unsatisfactory, frankly. They first tried to say, oh, well, it wasn't a real launch. They just got a couple laps of the car. They didn't get the tech presentation. They didn't drive it on the road. To which I replied, that doesn't matter. From the point of a YouTube algorithm, they had a photo and a center card and says review.
Mm-hmm.
What's inside that video, as we have learned over and over and over, doesn't matter from the point of the audience. The audience may not be as educated at the end of this video as they'll be at the end of a video from where you've sat through the tech presentation and had more seat time in the car, but that doesn't matter. You've still created a bit of content with drive impressions before and released it before anyone else has gotten to drive the car. And so those outlets releasing on that one day, the 27th, started a wave of YouTube algorithms so that anyone on that day gets to ride that wave. That wave eventually will taper off long before you, me, and probably 50 other people get to drive the car. So first they tried to say, well, it's a different thing. It's not the same thing. And I said, well, that doesn't matter. That's not how YouTube works. They then said, well, it was an international launch. I said, that doesn't matter. They're Canadians. They're not, it's not like they're Japanese and Chinese and doing videos in Japanese and Chinese that will not trend in the American market. If you're making YouTube videos in fucking English, America and Canada are the same thing.
Yeah, YouTube is an international market. It's all one country on YouTube if it's in the same language.
He then tried to say, well, if you were there and you got to make a video and release on the 27th, you probably wouldn't be so upset, which I personally found very insulting because it implies that I'm just selfish and not calling out a systematic problem and just saying, well, I was in the out group and not the in group. And for the record, if we were in the in group and we got to go, but I found out later that everyone else had a separate embargo, I wouldn't be like, ooh, yee, good for us. I'd be like, what? Wait, you hosed all those other people. Like, because that's the point of embargoes. To have an embargo and then choose for some people that are in it, part of an invited in group to have their own beforehand is not cool. I then asked if they understood how the algorithms and the waves and recommended videos work, because he tried to say, well, people come to you guys for your specific viewpoint. And I said, well, that's very nice of you to say that, but that's literally not how YouTube works. People get our videos if YouTube chooses to show them our videos. I said, there's people who actively choose to subscribe to us and want our videos, but they don't get shown them sometimes because of the way the trends and the algorithms work.
Well, people that get early access, what they're getting, they get to create a scarce resource. And we know that the audiences they're all looking for content on the newest car. The magazines do this and PR knows that too. But if someone gets a scoop on the story, just like any news organization or any magazine, they're the only ones with that story. People have to go to you. So even if we put up a video at the same time as some of our competitors, there's a Venn diagram. We're going to have our fans that stick with us. They're going to have theirs that stick with them. And then there might be some crossover where they go to one or the other for different reasons. But if there's only one game in town, they're going to go to that game. And then the problem is that there may be some viewers that want to see the road reviews also and see a more comprehensive coverage. But for a lot of people, they have ticked the box on getting the information on the CTR that they need to get, and then they're not going to watch the next videos that come out about it.
Yeah. So when I asked if they understood how these algorithms work, they said, yes, they do. And I said, well, if you understand how they work, then your options are either you understand and you don't care, or you understand and you do care. Right? So either they understand and they don't care, and then if that's the case, why have embargoes at all? And if you understand and you do care, well, then you have carefully chosen an in-group to get advance access before everybody else. Mm-hmm. And so, he then concluded the call with, thank you for sharing your opinions. And we'll see you in Sonoma. So I haven't decided yet if we're going to obey the embargo
Sonoma one,
they
yeah.
said at this point. Like, I mean, I talked to Doug, and Doug was like, I think I might. Doug was so pissed. He was like, he might just blow the whole thing off. He and I thought, we chatted about it, and we were on the same exact page. I mean, it's completely ridiculous for a manufacturer to be so, to set an embargo and then break it themselves for a few people. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, to have a separate event like that, it's weird.
Yeah, and to take a position of not understanding that drive impression is a drive impression. It's not,
Yeah, I mean, if they were going to plan it all along to have these multiple events because it gets the more press, ultimately, this is the fairest way to do it. Because if they did the COTA program and then later they did the one in Sonoma, and everyone who could just publish in Sonoma as they got there and got their content out, everyone in Sonoma who's second, third, fourth is getting fucked. Like, that's the worst version. This is not a good version.
Well, and also everyone who's going to Sonoma is going to get hosed, because the algorithmic wave that was started on October 27th will be over. So they're already downstream, by then. I mean, there might be enough outlets to start a secondary wave, but it's not, from Honda's perspective, they're spending a lot of money having a big launch. To shoot themselves in the foot, to blow their wad 2.5 weeks before that, all of those videos are going to get less traffic than they would have if these other outlets had been made to wait.
I mean, I'm sure they're going to be paying attention. It'd be interesting to see what happens when there's mass publishing in November, and if the sheer presence of those reviews on so many channels buoys it back up, and all the subscribers that didn't get content from their main channels, or some of the channels that they subscribe to, they suddenly get content, and they kind of catches buzz again. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the PR companies pay attention to all these things, and OEMs tend to do it in different ways, whether or not they have internal PR or external PR. Like, they all do things slightly differently.
It's the first time I've ever seen anything like this, where a manufacturer would create two different embargoes for drive impressions. I've been doing this almost 20 years. I've never seen this before.
Well, sometimes they have international waves and national waves. This feels like if they had a prototype, sometimes they'll have a prototype drive, which is like real early. I mean, almost like a test mule.
I went to drive
different.
like the Gen 6 Camaro or something, and it was literally mules.
Yeah, and so then the mule is so different from the production car, and usually they restrict the kind of driving you can do, that it doesn't fuck over people that drive it later. But this is a weird one where it was production cars. Yeah, it's early access production cars with video. Yeah,
it's weird.
Really, I mean, really the interesting experiment will be for Throttle House, because they're surely going to do the full video later, and they just did this early one at COTA. Are they going to see a drop in their comprehensive views versus what they normally do? I mean, they're kind of the best barometer for that.
Yeah, maybe, but it's just it's frustrating, like,
yeah, no, it is.
Like, why, it's like a gentleman's agreement. Like, why, once you blow up the gentleman's agreement, it's like what we've learned since 2016, that the government is basically held together with handshakes, and if one person decides to go, you know what, go fuck yourself, make me, then it all kind of falls apart.
Yeah. Once decorum kind of goes, are there consequences?
Yeah. So, super frustrating, mildly confusing, and as of now, unresolved.
So get your Hyundai N's where you can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the Hyundai Elantra N is a is an excellent car. That
you know what I noticed looking at I'm editing your Lamborghini Technica video today. The front end of the Technica has a similar like headlight surround shape to the Elantra N. Like,
that's
they
hilarious.
both have this vertical black V next to the headlight, not the headlight design itself, but like they both have this same, I think it's air intakes, and I just noticed, I went, whoa, I'll find photos to pull up for people, but
I wonder if Hyundai will Aztec the industry, where it's like they were just way ahead on some design elements that'll be kind of mainstream later, you know?
Maybe. That's too many. Here we go. Let me share real quick. All right, so Technica, you got this vertical V, almost actually looks like an airplane from the top. And then if you go to the Elantra,
wait, I can't see it.
Because I gotta hit there we go.
You gotta hit yeah, there it is. Okay. Oh, the V. Oh shit. Well, now that I does that really say augmented reality? Oh, that's terrible.
Yes,
now that I see exactly what we're talking about, I can't unsee it. You're totally right. Yeah, they do.
Isn't that funny? It's the same like
the black triangles doing the mouth, making the mouth.
And I think it has these little ridges on the black, so it's almost like the roof wing on the Evo 8s and 9s. So it's straightening out the air and then pulling the air around the wheel, which surely helps both these cars be more efficient.
Well, the Technica has 35%, just looking at my notes here, 35% more downforce and 20% less drag than the Evo rear-wheel drive. To have those simultaneously is an impressive piece of engineering, right? Because normally more downforce increases your drag. So to reduce drag by 20% and increase downforce by 35%, you have to do some trickery. Yeah. So those may actually really help. And Hyundai knows this. Hyundai has done it too. So I took my Mach-E in for service because I've talked about it in the past, right? My Mach-E was like a very early build. It was one of the first ones to be delivered in LA, which means one of the first ones to be delivered anywhere. I think it was like in the first 400 cars. It's early. And we've had it in a bunch of times for little shit. CarPlay won't connect properly. The icons for satellite radio will go from color to black and white. Every once in a while, if we back up and the backup camera comes on and then you go to drive away, the backup camera will stay on. Every once in a while, the screen will freeze for 10 seconds, shut off, and restart. Now, none of this prevents you from driving the car, ever. Car drives fine. So, but we've taken it in and they go, okay, well, we need to do a software update. We need to do a software update. We need a software update. After a while, I complained to Ford. And granted that I'm in a privileged position where I can complain to Ford. Not everybody can do that, but I didn't complain to Ford because I demanded satisfaction. I complained to Ford because I said, look, there's problems here. And, I am an early adopter. I'm not being a dick. I'm in a position to accurately describe these problems to people. Let's get this fixed. And so they put what they call a token on my car, which is like a black box data logger. It's software. It's not hardware. But something I could do is if something fucked up in the car, I could hold my finger on a portion of the screen for 5 seconds and it would bring up a voice recorder. And I would say, Matt Farah, Los Angeles, November 1st, 2022. I tried to do this, this, and this. I expected this, 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 and this. And what happened was this, this, and this. And so I've had this for like 4 or 5 months in the car. And I've sent a lot of reports, probably 50, a lot. And so finally I got a phone call from someone whose name I won't use, who is the head of engineering for Ford electric vehicles. And he said, I've got your report here, and it is extensive. He's like, he's like, look, you may or may not believe me, but you have one of the most problematic Mach-E's we've ever built. He's like, and there's a very small percentage of cars that we are replacing the entire sync system, and yours is going to be one of them. So
wow,
they are literally, they ship the parts from wherever the fuck to my dealer here. I brought the car in. It's probably going to be about 3 days, and they're replacing the entire main screen and the entire brain for it.
wow.
And yeah, I guess some early cars. He's like, you know, I'm not saying that this person isn't like, this person could be lying to me. They could all be fucked. But like, I talk about my car a lot on Twitter and whatever, and like, I don't hear a lot of, oh, that happened to mine too. I'm not getting that back. I get people who go, I'll never buy a Ford. It's a piece of shit. Like, that's not helpful. Like, but no one has really ever said back to me, oh, I experienced that same thing. So, anyway, that's pretty much like the last thing that they could, like, they've already, like, they've done every software update and recalibrate and hard update and over the air update, and like none of that shit works. They're like your car is one of a few where the sync system is completely fucked.
Wow.
And we're replacing the whole thing.
Just give it a whole new hardware brain. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible that software can't fix something, because computers are usually relatively, like, when they're interacting incorrectly, in a lot of experiences, it's like it's a program problem, a coding problem. It's not like the CPU or something, but who knows? These are so complicated.
So I mean, it's frustrating that that I have somehow ended up with the most problematic Mach-E like in the country.
I mean, it'd make her a great Jalopnik post, or David Tracy could come fix it for you.
Right. I mean, look, better me than someone else. You know, at least I can accurately describe what's going on to the people. At least I have other stuff to drive. Like, I'm not being a total dick. You know, I'm not trying to like lemon law it or something, or being a total dickbag, which, by the way, my physical therapist, Santo, shout out to Santo Victory Performance in Culver City, great physical therapist, bought a Chrysler Pacifica hybrid and has now lemon lawed it with 340 miles on the fucking car.
Whoa.
Dude, he bought this thing, and 2 days later it was literally stalling on the freeway. Like shutting off. And so they brought it to the dealer. The dealer had it and he was driving a rental car for like 87 days, like almost 90 days they had it.
I don't want it back after that long. I don't care if you fix it.
That's pretty much what it came to. And I think there's a rule that if it's in the shop more than 30 days, you can lemon law it. But for a while they were like paying for, you know, a rental Pacifica, ironically, a gas rental Pacifica. And they were going, just, you know, let us fix it. And if you get it, you take it back and you don't like it. So they finally fixed it. He got it back. He had it for 1 day. The next day he drove home from work, drove to his house, and it would not turn off in his own driveway.
Whoa.
Wouldn't turn off. He called the fucking dealer. He said, you take this thing. I mean, I don't even know if it went through 1 tank of gas.
Oh my God.
And they lemon lawed this thing. So, like, you know, if my phone doesn't connect once in a while, it's annoying. It's not what I paid for. But the thing has never like left me stranded. You know, I've never been not able to drive it. I've never been not able to turn it off. I've never been able, you know, not been able to access the basic functionality of a car. And so, you know, small victories, I guess. I don't know.
Look on the bright side. Like when you see a Craigslist ad, and it's like, never left me stranded. It's like, yeah, but how many check engine lights have you seen?
Well, look, we tell people all the time not to buy the first model year of a car. But at the same time, when it always seems to be Ford, I don't know. I think it's random. Like the cycle that I need a new car is like when Fords are coming out with cool shit. Like I always seem to buy when Ford makes a really cool car. the newest one, and it's to people like us, it's to our benefit to buy the new one because we can talk about it. It's content. People want to hear about the new car, so my Mach-E videos have done well. Overall they've done well. I think the 6-month ownership update video or something did a lot of views, but I've heard pretty much universally that the 2022s have none of these problems. They've really got it pretty well sorted out. But yeah, this one's kind of been an adventure a little bit. At least we have other shit to drive.
Yeah.
So
you're an early adopter. You're the right person to experiment with new vehicles because you have backup plans.
Yeah. And I live, very close to our studio, and Hannah works from home. So it's not like someone's going to lose their job because they can't get to work today because they don't have a car. So
yeah,
we deal with it, and whatever. Speaking of losing their jobs, Hannah didn't get fired.
Oh, that's good.
She made it to stock vesting day. November 1st today was the big deal because the word was Elon was trying to fire everybody without paying them because it's a company-wide stock vesting day today. So he was trying to get out of paying a bunch of people by firing them before their stock vested.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But she made it to today, which means she got a nice little chunk of change on November 1.
That's very good. It's good. Well, maybe she's not programming the new payment structure or whatever.
I don't know.
Maybe
Maybe they have an autopilot, a full self-driving engineer programming the payment structure.
I saw a funny discussion.
Crashed into a wall.
I saw a funny discussion between Stephen King. He posted, he's like, $20 a month for this check mark. Go fuck yourself. And Elon replied, he's like, what about 8?
I mean, can you believe people call this idiot a genius? He's like haggling like it's a fucking garage sale with Stephen King.
Well, I think
get the fuck out of here.
This is what happens if you publicly announce changes. You're going to get public response. So normally this stuff is decided in private and then rolled out.
Wait,
and
you
that's
think
it.
Maybe
but,
I wonder who it's decided by. You think the research team might help with that? I wonder if the research team, of which my wife runs it, might help figuring out features like this instead of instead of being straight ghosted and having a panic attack for fucking 4 days.
We're just going to do it live.
Actually happened.
Did you see the greatest racing moment of 2022?
Bro,
did you see it 19 times?
I watched it 50 times. It was sick.
I want to show people just because
Can we play it? How do we play it on Instagram or something? Play it on Twitter,
playing
Instagram?
It through Twitter, the NASCAR's Twitter, and it's been shared everywhere. So hopefully we don't get dinged for this. But so people understand, this is at Martinville. It's a NASCAR race. This is a small track. It's like a second gear only track. I don't know. The top speeds is like 80 miles per hour, kind of like the one we saw at the Coliseum. So this is, if I remember correctly, it's a race that will lead. It's NASCAR playoffs. And if you get within the top 10 of the finishers here, you get to move on to the finals. And then I think Ross Chastain does something. So I'm just going to play it. Can you hear that audio or no?
No.
Okay. That means it doesn't transfer, but it doesn't matter. So final corner.
I mean, it is what
this is insane.
I mean, you can't hear it, but if you haven't seen this clip, what he does is the kind of thing that you would do at a Daytona USA birthday party when you were like 12. You just put the car into the wall and floor it and ride the fucking wall.
So he passes
and wreck your car.
He passes 5 cars. I'll turn the audio off because it doesn't transmit, but you watch him pass another car, the Delta, like 1, 2, 3, 4. He's flying past everybody and he's using, it's like bumper bowling or a velodrome, like just pure centrifugal force. And Parker Kligerman looked at the data and did a breakdown, and he was going 50 miles per hour faster than everyone else on the track.
You can see the speed differential. I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, the speed differential between him and the other cars.
Watch the onboard.
Hilarious.
So all the cars dip inside. He stays outside, grinds the outside of his car along the wall, which keeps him quote in the track.
Yeah.
And he passes 5 cars and makes it into the championship. And it's right now it's allowed. Like NASCAR might change this because otherwise everyone's going to do this right at the last moment, which would be quite a sight to see. But
yeah,
he literally got out of the car and he said, I used to do this in I can't remember the game, like in 2005 he used to do this on Nintendo NASCAR game. And he's like, I figured I might as well try it. It's my last shot.
I mean, if you don't need the car to last past this one lap, fuck it, send it. I mean, I don't know how it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they make a rule after this saying that you can't do this, because the only thing I could say, like if that corner has that safer barrier on it that compresses, and what he did damaged half the track and cost them like $1 million to fix, that's what I could say. That's where I feel like they would come in and go, okay, you can't do this because it's just fucking the track up. But if you're the only real risk is to your own race car, fuck it.
and I think it's a concrete wall. And then Bozy put up a post, Bozy Taterovich, and he showed, he's like, testament to the new cars and how strong they are. The only damage to it was cosmetic and a front suspension. The frame's okay, everything else is okay. He literally ground his car against the wall. Yeah. It's amazing. It's so amazing.
And even if they do say that he can't do that shit anymore, that's entertaining. I mean, that's like you're even if you do that to finish 5th, you're the fucking winner.
Totally.
That's literally like in was it like in Happy Gilmore, where just like they're all you had the greatest 12 in the history of golf.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah. If Dale had done this back in the day,
no, it's not Happy Gilmore. It's fucking Tin Cup. I'm sorry. I got my golf movies wrong. It's Tin Cup,
where he
makes the most epic 12 ever. Yeah. Of course I confused Happy Gilmore and Tin Cup.
Both good, both funny, both about golf. But that was amazing.
Sick. Loved it.
Yeah.
Wreck your fucking car out, but get for 5th. That's why. Using
video game practices in real life, which is speaks to our generation.
It's amazing.
Rad.
It was great fun.
Yeah.
Do we have an update on BMW project car?
Yeah. So for all intents and purposes, it is done. And we can talk about the wheels maybe a different time. But parts are on the car, maintenance has been done, suspension's on, wheels, tires are on. Like I have final pictures, which we could maybe tease out here a little bit.
And Vinny polished the headlights.
He did.
So we don't have cataracts anymore.
It made a good difference. It really did. The thing looks nice. The paint is done by South Bay Certified Collision Repair Center. Very long name, but
I went and picked it up from the paint shop. It looks really nice. The wheels look really good on it. It's got a very 1M kind of vibe.
Yeah.
The powertrain feels great, nice and strong.
This car is fast.
Very nice car.
Back. Even like 4th gear, 3rd gear highway, even from low in the RPM range at like 80 miles an hour, it pulls so hard with just this Cobb Stage 1 tune on it. It's really quick.
Well, it's like a plus 75 horsepower and 45 or 50 torque or something. It's a big difference, right?
Yeah, it was a big jump. So the bumper got totally sanded down, all the little pits in it. This is just
that might be before headlights though. Is that before headlights?
I took these yesterday.
Oh, so no.
The car's dusty.
My computer screen's a little fucking dirty.
Well, the car's dusty because it was stored, I think, downstairs. And this is like water soap residue, so like pay no mind to this stuff. But this the whole front bumper used to be like pitted to hell. And now they filled it, they painted it. Same thing. They painted the whole hood. This is just dust, new roundel. It's very shiny. That's me showing how shiny it is. And the thing looks
we still
great.
have to detail it. Like it still hasn't been detailed.
Right.
Like the guys at Westside, once we finish our videos and before the winner takes it home, that looks like before headlights.
Yeah, this is
Those are before headlights.
It looks really nice.
Yeah.
And it rides well. It doesn't feel too stiff. It rides really nice on the highway, and I'm excited for us to take it up into the canyons, I guess next week when your COVID goes away. And
yeah,
really
I guess
see
we were
what
going to do this on Friday, but now we are not.
Right. They repainted the whole
Sucks.
wing because this was like peeling, so the wing's been repainted. It just like, and it all looks good, man. I forgot when these cars came out, I was a little like, I was one of those people going, "Oh, the pot belly shape is strange. That rocker panel shape is strange," but a car is the right size in every way.
Yeah.
Like it's just the right size and real quick.
It is definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good, it's a really nice car. I'm glad it's like black. I'm glad it's got the mods it's got. It's very, very cool. Of course, go to our Instagram page and click on that link in the bio there, and you can go to the Get Entered to Win website, buy a coffee mug, and support the channel. Maybe take home the ultimate $30,000 canyon carving BMW. Do we have anything on the Patreon, Zach?
We do. I just want to show people this screen right quick, and then I'll pull up our questions. Yeah, so there you go. Go.getentertowin.com/TST. That's where you can enter to win this BMW. The drawing is on November 16th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. All right. Questions.
Before you get there, I gotta give a special shout out to Suncoast. Suncoast Porsche is a place that sells like OEM Porsche parts and stuff, and they hooked it up. Remember how for like a year we only drove German spec Porsches, and then I drove a US spec car. I think it was the Turbo S maybe, or one of the turbos, and the US cars have the regular side mirrors, and the German cars have those amazing convex side mirrors.
Yeah.
Well, Suncoast hit me up and they were like, "Dude, I love your frozen berry car. Is there any like stuff you need?" And I was like, "German convex mirror glass." And they were like, "Absolutely, that's one of our most popular parts." So they sent me the German convex mirror glass, and it arrived this morning.
That's rad.
Yeah, that's like a true functional mod. Like anyone who has a modern Porsche in America, there's no reason. I mean, there's probably some rule, but there's no like good reason that would satisfy me that we can't have the German convex side mirror glass, because you can literally see more. Like you can just see a bunch more. It eliminates blind spots. It makes a huge difference. And once you use it, to go back to the US glass blows. You're like, why is this like this? So yeah, go to Suncoast Porsche and get the German convex. It has a word. It's not just, let me look on my DMs. It's not just like convex isn't the actual word that they use. It's something else. It's, come on, Suncoast. Where's the,
so I'm reading a post. This is from 2010 on New York Times. And back then, a NHTSA representative told the author that they were about 3 years away from approving convex side mirrors on vehicles, which I don't think has happened. So
yeah,
in United States, the vehicles have to have flat outside mirrors on the driver's side. European cars can have convex mirrors on both sides. So some cars in America come with convex mirrors on the passenger side, but the driver's side has to be flat.
The word they use is aspheric, ASPHERIC, aspheric mirrors. So I don't know if you can search on Suncoast Porsche parts for convex, or if you search for aspheric, but they are a must if you drive a modern Porsche in America.
This is interesting.
I don't know what they cost, but shout out to Suncoast for sending them to me. That's super cool of them.
And I mean, for anybody who hasn't driven in Europe, like if you see a car with a tiny mirror on its main side mirror, that mirror is usually convex to help your field of vision. In Europe, they just make the whole mirror convex, which basically eliminates your blind spot. And GM and Mercedes were petitioning to get the US to allow convex mirrors on both sides because it gets rid of these blind spots. But apparently that has still not happened.
Well, they rule, and you can buy them once you have the car. You can just go buy them, which is annoying, but to not just get them.
Yeah.
But you can get them. They are available. And I mean, how expensive could they be in the context of a Porsche? Make your life better for sure.
I was gonna say, because it's a Porsche, they'll be expensive, but then you dropped in context. I was like, oh well, percentage wise, they'll be very cheap.
Yeah.
But if you just take the dollar amount, probably expensive.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some questions.
Of course, if you want to ask us questions, of course, patreon.com/the Smoking Tire Podcast. Also, get the podcast in an ad-free experience. Get the podcast the day it's recorded instead of waiting till Tuesdays, Thursdays, and get an extra podcast every month. Go on, Zachary.
Correcto.
By the way, case I just looked it up. Blind spot, aspherical mirror ranges from $99 to $200 per set, depending on your generation and model of Porsche. Not terrible. Not terrible.
Nice.
I mean, not cheap, but not terrible. What you got?
All right. TM says, is it worth the upgrade on an S550 Mustang to get a performance package when the car will never see track work?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I mean it is, because it'll drive better on the street too. You'll notice the differences on the street.
It comes with a lot of stuff. Some of it is also like it comes with Brembos. It comes with a bigger radiator. So some of those things will help your reliability. But also, I was looking at it from the resale value, and like getting these basic upgrades from factory, I think will be more attractive to people when they're shopping for the car. Like in addition to driving better.
Yeah, it will drive better. I mean, the non-performance pack cars, they're floaty. The brakes aren't that great. In fact, if you're really going to track the car, I would go beyond the performance pack. I think the performance pack's not even really enough for track work. If you want it to feel sportier, I would get the performance pack. A regular GT without it will not feel particularly sporty.
Yeah, this is on the Ford website, but what you get about 15 things. The 6 ones that leap out are Brembos. You get bigger sway bars, heavy duty front springs. You get a torsion diff, unique chassis tuning, and unique stability control. So all of the parts that help control the body and handling of the car, like you get upgraded.
Yeah, the car will feel much different all the time.
Right.
With those options, not only while you're at the track.
Yeah. Domnall Murphy says, if you could have 3 oddball enthusiast cars for approximately $20,000, what would they be and how would you change them? His stable of cars is an E30 320, an 89 2CV, and an 05 Jimny.
I mean, let's assume he means 20,000 each and not 20,000 total.
Yeah.
Because 20,000 total is just not getting you much in 2022. So oddball cars for under 20K. The Jimny's a good one. I mean, both my wife's Delica and her POW were over 20K, but not by much. They were over 20 and under 25. I would say a Peugeot like 206 GTI would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
People seem to like those. Maybe a Volkswagen Cabrio with like a hot motor swap. 20K doesn't get you a great E30 BMW anymore, but it'll get you a decent one.
I would go with one of those. What was the Golf all-wheel drive? The lifted one.
Oh, the Ultra,
the old school one.
I know what you're talking about.
Golf Country.
Country. A great one of those will not be under 20K.
I know. I can get a rough one, and then I'll be all right. But it's
pretty close, yeah.
And I think
C4
an E30,
Corvettes.
Oh, yeah.
C4 Corvettes are, especially the 95s and 96s. You can get a really, really nice one for under 20. And they're better cars than they are given credit for being.
I would get an E30 with an S52 swap. It would be a shitty looking one, but it would run well. And I think WS6 Firebird. I still like them. All right. Be weird. Yeah, it's weird that oddball cars are now over 20 grand or around 20. Prashan, Is he crazy for thinking current gen Mercedes interiors are not as solid or special feeling as previous generations?
No, cost cutting is in effect. I personally think with most European brands, the sort of hump of, or the I feel like it peaked at like 05, 06 was a pinnacle of like materials and stuff like that before they started switching to like a lot of touch screens and integrating computers. Like BMW interiors were, and Mercedes interiors, I feel like were a little more built to last. Thicker materials, heavier materials.
And fewer functions, which I think leads to more reliable systems, because they weren't doing as much as they are now. And also car companies, a lot of them have moved from being a car company to a finance company. So if they can incentivize you, if they can iterate and evolve their interior, that will convince some people to buy a new car more frequently than if they look the same for a long amount of time.
Right.
Which of these cars are we most excited to get as a presser? The Lotus Emira, the BMW M2, or the manual Supra?
Emira, probably. I
think go ahead. No, go ahead.
I mean, the M2 will be fun, I'm sure, but the photos haven't made me very excited for it. Whereas the Emira looks great. And if it looks great, then I'm more excited to drive it.
I'm excited about that car because I've heard that it is the first time it all works together. Inside, outside feels as of high quality. Whereas the entire interior of the Evora, you had this Alpine head unit and some of the lights you couldn't dim. Like it felt a little piecemeal inside, even though it was like a really functional interior. So if this solves that, that's great. Whereas the M2, it's like we know what an M2 feels like, and then the Supra will feel like an M2 with a with a manual. Ted Theo Logan, Matt. A while ago, you said you were done owning front engine cars. Is there anything other than the M3 you can see yourself owning in the future with a front engine?
Done owning front engine cars.
Yeah, you said a little while ago you're in for mid-engine. It's all about mid-engine, and I remember this too. You said you were done owning front engine cars. May have meant new front engine cars, but
yeah, I mean, there are very few, if any, front engine cars that I like better than mid-engine cars or rear engine cars. So I don't like if I made an absolute, never will I own one, I think that's probably short-sighted and maybe in some ways hyperbolic. But I suppose for the most part, I am all in on the mid-engine cars, aren't I? With the Lambo, the Ferrari, and the Porsche. I mean, the E46 is a particularly good front-engine car. But there are not a lot of front-engine cars that I am really genuinely interested in owning from here on out. So it's not too far off, although I might not have been so absolute about it if I say, from today.
Christian Pelfrey, he has a 93 Miata. Steering wheel is getting old and gross, but he doesn't want to remove the airbag and put in an aftermarket wheel that does not have an airbag because he's worried about the safety. Is the car and airbag so old he shouldn't care about safety anyway? Or should he try to either refurbish or retain the stock airbag? And then someone replied, I just want to add this, that the design of early spec airbags was to restrain a fully grown adult male that was not wearing a seatbelt, so they may have a lot more force than a modern airbag system. So modern ones are dual stage and a little bit safer. So I guess the question is, do you go aftermarket wheel with no airbag and just say, fuck it? Or maybe there's a third option, which is finding a new wheel for that car that has a modern airbag in it.
Yeah, I might spend a little bit of time, assuming he hasn't already, seeing if you could get like an NB or NC OEM wheel with airbag that works in that car. I don't know if there is. I've seen that done in other cars, but you're certainly right about the Gen 2 airbags being safer than the Gen 1 airbags. And a lot of people were getting injured by the Gen 1 airbags, which this is. Another option is you could go to an upholsterer and have the leather on your steering wheel be redone. And that'll get you some of the way there if you don't want to mess with the airbag.
Yeah, I'm looking at there's a forum response about this that someone asked the same question, but they said no one is willing to test whether an NB airbag will work in an NA car because you have to like put it in and crash test it. So it might be hard to figure that out because then you are relying on this aftermarket or non-OEM spec thing. So I would say if I was in your shoes, I would try to restore that wheel. You can even get it sent out to get rewrapped. Like you could get new leather put on if you want to spend the money on that. And then you have an old airbag, but it's still something. Social media
or
users,
you can go tennis racket grip, straight tennis racket grip, dude. Just wrap that bitch up. Hockey tape, maybe
that would last a pretty long time. Gaffer tape, also pretty good. Social media user says he's noticed that Matt is good at remembering names of people, even if you think you're not. Is this something you've actively practiced? And if so, do you have any tips?
If you think I'm good at it, you should fucking meet my wife. I don't think I'm that good at it. I'm good at remembering names of like someone who played a bit part in a fucking 80s movie, but I'm really struggling to remember the names of my new neighbors on my street. I'm really having a hard time with that. No, I don't practice it, and I appreciate the compliment that you think I'm good at it. I don't think I'm that good at it.
Your memory is wild. It's impressive.
But highly selectively, only for certain things that fit into certain boxes. For a lot of other shit, I'm the worst.
Drew Frink, he says his local car club of old British cars is growing. It used to be 10 and now it's 30, but it only has one driving leader and they are struggling a bit with scaling up. So since you have led driving events,
leader,
well, like on a driving event,
old elections,
he said,
go to a go-kart track. The winner is the driving leader.
I think he asked about scaling up, and maybe it's what you've talked about with road and track, where you got to break the group up into 2 waves or 2 strings or something.
So first off, I have to say one thing is you have to be really careful about this stuff. If you are leading a drive and people are like whipping and someone gets into a crash or someone gets arrested or something and they go, who's in charge of this thing? You don't want it to be you. So when we do the road and track thing, and that's what before we get to road and track, like when Larry and I were doing New York Motor Club, we would go out on these drives and there'd be 20 or 30 of us and I would be leading them. And after a while, I was like, this is getting sketchy because it became like, it was like a business also, like we were charging people membership. There was like a membership card and a membership sticker and there was merch with our club name on it. And so after like a year of leading these drives, we were like, and one guy did have a crash. We did a drive in the winter. A guy hit some ice in a BMW and rolled his car, and he was fine. He wasn't hurt, and he didn't hit anybody else. And he wasn't even doing anything super crazy at the time. But it just like once we saw a guy crash on one of our drives, we were like, ooh, this is kind of heated, and I don't necessarily want to be like responsible for it. With road and track, we are not going that fast. I mean, I hope the people are having a good time, but it's much more of a tour as opposed to what a group of local, Lotus enthusiasts might do at 5 a.m. on a Sunday on their local roads. They might be fucking terrorizing the neighborhood for all I know. Scaling up, that implies a business. And so I would be very careful about that. What we do at Road and Track is we break a group of 20 cars into 4 groups of 5 with 4 liters, and then we have a sweep car that goes behind if someone needs to stop for gas, or if someone has a mechanical issue, then the sweep car will stop and make sure that they are able to catch up. And we have radios, where everyone's got a radio, and the range is about a mile on the radios, and so even if the groups get separated, you're never out of range from your group leaders, so you know where the turns are and if there's obstacles in the road or whatever. So I would say, if you are comfortable buying radios or asking everyone to buy their own radios, maybe have 2 or 3 leaders and divide it up, and put people on a mic who are good at being on a mic, and do it that way. Also, we use, I don't know, it costs something. I don't know how much it costs, but we use Rallista, which is an app where you can make rally and road rally routes in a way that you can't do with Google Maps. Google Maps limits the number of waypoints you can put on a map. I think it's 6. And so if you're making a fun driving route, it's hard to use Google Maps because you run out of options. Whereas Rallista, you can plan a whole drive, and it's like a GPS app, and that everyone could use. So it costs money. I don't know how much. Road and Track pays for it. So, but that may be something that you want to look into also. Yeah.
Cool.
But be careful with your liability if you're leading group drives.
Mm-hmm.
That shit could fuck you up pretty good.
Yeah, that could bankrupt you.
Yeah.
Chris Navio, why has the gated manual disappeared?
Why has the manual disappeared? Same reason. It's not like Toyota was making gated manuals before. You're talking about Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Audi.
Right.
And when they stopped making them, they stopped being made.
It's more expensive to produce than just getting a piece of leather and a more general housing for that shifter. So that's why they were so rare to begin with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a Guy says, in the past, you've mentioned 60 as a good rental car company in Europe.
Sixth.
Sixth. Well, yeah, sixth, I guess sixth. He says reviews don't agree with you at all. He's planning a drive in France, looking for a small Mercedes or Q5 and not finding many options. Do you have any suggestions of where someone could rent a nice car in Europe? Yeah. Did you choose sixth?
I don't know what to say about reviews don't agree with me at all. I've rented high-end cars from Sixth on 3 or 4 different occasions. I rented an E-Class. I rented a Volvo XC90. I rented an Audi S7. When Adventure Drives went to Europe, some people rented F-Types and 911s and Boxsters from Sixth. So this, most recently was 2019. So my information may not be updated, and they may not be an ethical company. Like, I don't fucking know. Like, they tried to
well, let's also remember that people that have a decent experience with a company often won't write about it because they get their car, have their trip, and they go home. So
they tried to knock me for curbing a wheel, which I disputed through Amex and won. So I not certainly not a perfect solution, but it's the only place I've ever attempted to rent a medium to high end car in Europe, and I was able to successfully do so. I don't have a lot. I might ask Rob Ferretti. He goes to Europe a lot and rents high end cars a lot. I know exotic cars, specifically, R8s and Ferraris and Lambos and stuff, are significantly cheaper to rent in Europe than they are here. And at the time, I thought whatever they charged me to rent that S7 and the XC90 those were not particularly expensive. But again, we're talking about 2015 to 2019. So I don't know what the state of that industry is now.
Okay. Tyler M is taking a vacation to the Hawaiian Big Island, and he's looking on Turo for rentals. Which would we choose? A C7 Stingray or a 718 Cayman base? Both are automatic, similar price.
Here's the problem with the Big Island. It's a shitty place to drive a sports car. I've been on 3 different press launches on the Big Island of Hawaii, and every time I've gotten there, I've gone, why did they have this here? Because the roads suck balls. They're clogged with traffic. The tarmac's not very good. And even if you go up a mountain road or do the road to Hana or any of that kind of stuff, it's slow. Would I rather have? I'd rather have a base Boxster on a vacation than a C7 convertible. I think. But get a fucking Wrangler. Get a 4-door Wrangler like everybody else would be my advice, because you cannot drive fast in Hawaii. It's just not a good place for it.
I would rather have a Wrangler or something with ground clearance, because if you want to go to like a hiking trail or a snorkeling place, sometimes the roads to those are dirt or super pitted out. If you want to go down to like the Waipio Valleys, Waipio Valleys on the Big Island, you're not driving a Corvette or a Boxster came in down there.
Yeah.
You need something with 4-wheel drive to handle the potholes. So that will give you more options. Like it sounds cool to be like, I'm gonna rent a sports car and drive around this gorgeous island. It's like, yeah, but you're gonna go 20 miles an hour, and it's just going to limit what you can do with that car. I would save some money.
Yeah, I had a much better time when I went to Hawaii with Hannah and we rented a Jeep than I've had on any sports car press launch in Hawaii. Yeah.
Colby Black says he has a 2007 Shelby GT and wants to start taking it to the track and through some canyons in SoCal. Does all he need are tires and shocks, or should he do more before the car's ready for that?
Well, like we say to people a lot, the best track car is the one you have. So assuming the car is in good shape, make sure your tires are good, make sure your brakes are good, and start with that, and then see in what areas the car is lacking. Is it lacking body control? Well, then maybe you need some coilovers or some shocks. That's 07. That's a solid axle car. So Maximum Motorsports has I think what they call a maximum grip box, which is like a full, comprehensive handling package for that car. And it's just they've figured out the formula for making that car handle well. And are you looking it up, Zach? The maximum grip box, and I don't know what it costs for that car. I'm sure Zach will be able to find out, but it's literally like everything you would need to make that car handle as good as it can. But people have budgets, and so making sure at 2007 you may want to look into you might need new bushings. You might need the bushings could be tired or dry. Certainly brakes, but certainly tires, and make sure your car's, serviced, oil's good, air filter's clean, stuff you can do at home. You don't need to spend a ton of money. And certainly if you have no track experience yourself, then you shouldn't spend a ton of money on the car, go to a track, and then find out that you don't necessarily like it. Yeah, so the road and track grip box is there. So that's $2,400, and you get shocks, springs, sways, looks like some bushings,
end links, and camber plates. There's a couple, like there's one with JRI shocks, which are really high quality, but that one's $5,000, twice as expensive. They have a couple.
Go down. There's the 05
packages.
to 10 starter box right there. Mustang starter box includes pan hard bar, caster camber plates, race strings, and Bilsteins. That right there is probably a good place to get started.
Yeah. If you do that plus brake fluid and brake pads, which is
and good cheap. Tires, decent. Decent tires. Decent tires.
Yeah,
you don't need to go crazy, but like decent tires.
Yeah. Then you're in a really good place, and that stuff should all last a very long time.
Yeah. I love Maximum Motorsports. They do a great job.
$1,500 for a full
For
kit.
all
That's
that,
awesome. That's
yeah,
really
for all
good.
that, it's great. Our next project car is totally going to be a Mustang.
So down. So down. But JJ says, what are our thoughts on the Carrera T at MSRP? Thinking about getting one in a manual for a daily. And yep, that's the question.
I mean, the 991 Carrera T was my favorite 911 that wasn't a GT car.
That was awesome.
It was an awesome, awesome car. When are we driving the new one, Zach? November.
Oh yeah, we get it on like the
6th
15th or something around.
Is it the 15th?
I think it's like 15, 16.
No, is that? I hope not, because that's when I'm going to Europe to drive the fucking R8.
No. Well, I looked at your calendar and told Porsche that we need it. It should have lined up fine.
Wait, hang on. Let me look. It's the 21st to 23rd of November. I'm glad. I that didn't sound right. 21st to 23rd. It's the same formula applied to the 992 platform. Manual gearbox, mechanical limited slip differential, rear steer, light glass, light interior panels. It should be great. It should be great. I've said this over and over. I prefer the 991 chassis because it's a little bit smaller. 992s are big. But if you can get one, if you want a brand new 911 and you can get one, it's probably going to be awesome.
Yeah. All right. Two more. Zay C says, oh, thank you for.
I have 19% battery on my laptop. No
All
worries.
right, we only have two questions.
Okay.
Zay C just thanks us for his help. He did PPI at 2015 Audi that he was looking at, and they're going to move forward with that based on our recommendation. It came in way under budget. They have 5 or 10.
Was that S4? Was this S4 guy? Is this the guy who was asking about the?
No, but
should he
they're
keep
going
his
with
S4?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, keep the S4 or go with a newer A3.
Like an A6 or something. Yeah.
Basically, he has 10 grand, up to 10 grand he could spend modifying this 2015 A3 2.0. Is there anything that they could do that would make it fun and sporty, or should they just keep and save the money? Cars approaching 100,000 miles, and if they spend the money on a dealership warranty, that obviously reduces their modification budget. I would go, I mean, you got to look at the terms of the dealership warranty, because that's really a math question. If the terms of the warranty are long enough and will cover enough stuff where you look at that and go, if it costs you 6 grand, but you know that it will probably save you 4 if you're going to own the car for 4 years, like that's just math. If repairing known problems on that car costs a lot, then it's a good idea to get the warranty. I would look at the forums to see what people have been spending on common issues with that car.
Yeah.
I mean, the 2.0T APR sells tunes for this thing that will give you like 100 pound-feet of torque and a bunch of power. Like you can get all the zip you want right there. And then kind of like the Mustang, you could go and you could get sway bars, you could get some decent coilovers for a few $1,000s, and that'll help it feel a little bit more agile and handle a little better.
Yeah.
And then tires.
Yeah. I mean, if it's your only car, reliability first, so I wouldn't mess that up too much. But I'm with Zach. It's math. It's your budget versus what it typically costs to fix one of these when stuff goes wrong, and the math of that. Yeah.
Last question, Jake Shores. Would you rather spend a weekend at Barber doing the Porsche school or track your own Porsche? He's looking at weighing the differences in the cost between tires, insurance, brakes, and wear and tear on your own car, plus the risk, versus spending the money to go to a racing school.
Other people's cars. You should always do racing school in other people's cars if possible.
Yeah, if you can afford racing school, especially if you're new to this stuff, like that will set you on a much better course, no pun intended, with your own car. Even if you decide to track your own car later, you'll be a smarter, safer driver with your own vehicle and less likely to wad it up. So, and the amount of wear and tear on your car, like it's not insignificant, especially if it's your daily or your second car or something. So I would do a school if you can.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a million racing schools, and it's never even occurred to me to do one in my own car, not once.
Well, I think you get a lot of opportunities for that. Like because if somebody wants to put in lots of track days, you will spend, if you can get more out of $3,000 in your own car than you could from a racing school. Like you could do 8 days of track days in your own car, assuming nothing breaks, by just changing out tires in your own car. Then you get 2 days in a racing school, because racing school is expensive. But if we're talking about Jake's his first foray into this, I would start with a racing school and then maybe transition to your own car if you want to really add up some days.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about doing track days. I was talking about doing a full, 4-day school or something. They offer it. Plus, it's like a destination. It's like unless you happen to live around the corner from Barber. Like, if all other things are equal and it's your car versus their car, we'll use their car.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're now factoring in, well, a flight and a hotel to Barber versus, you've got a very nice track by you and the program comes to you, and you could do literally the same school. Then there's definitely a cost. But I like other people's cars for school.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And that is it.
All right. 235. Wow. It's pretty much exactly 90. That's good. That's excellent. Well, I'll be here.
Stay inside those walls.
I'm staying outside, so it's a nice day. So I'm sitting out here, and fucking Hannah's inside those. Oh, the walls of the Farrah compound. Yes. I'm in the walls of the compound for sure. Hannah's gonna go out and get me some fucking packs so I can murk this shit. But this blows.
Fun. Getting sick sucks.
Fucking bullshit. Thanks for listening. Thanks to our patrons for patronizing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think is that the right use of the word patronizing? I'm not sure.
No, that is a different term.
Thanks for being patrons, and go check out the show with Randy Nonnenberg if you haven't fucked with it yet. Of course, our BMW project car giveaway, best Canyon car for $30,000, ends November 16th. And you can either click on the link in our Instagram bio or go to go.getenteredtowin.com/TST. And we are back Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific with Paris Marks, the author of Road to Nowhere, What Silicon Valley Gets Wrong with Transportation. And that you should buy that book. Did you read it yet, Zach? I gave it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gotten through it?
Yeah.
It's a very good book.
It's great.
Very well researched. Makes some really good points. Paris is also a great follow on Twitter. I recommend following him as well. And he'll be calling us from, I want to say London. I think he lives in London.
Mm-hmm.
But that's Thursday at 10 a.m. for the patrons. We'll see you then. I'll be here.
Feel better, man.